Modes. There's a word you run across all the time in amateur radio. What exactly do they mean by mode? Well, the answer is, it depends on the context in which it's used. There's modulation modes, operating modes, digital communication modes, and all kinds of other flavors of mode. The Webster's definition that applies here is a particular form or variety of something. So in our case, let's replace the word something with a larger concept, and the mode is the specific variety of that concept. So let's apply mode to one model of amateur radio, operating mode. Let's keep it simple for now. It basically means what general form of communication are you using? How are you using your license and equipment to communicate? The primary modes are voice, pick up a mic and speak, CW, put your hand on the key and send Morse code, and digital, deploy a computer or other hardware to send a digitally encoded signal. Simply put, a digital mode is the selection of a specific encoding method to communicate some form of software-generated intelligence via your radio, usually text or pictures. There are so many different forms to choose from, and each has its own individual strength and weakness. Some modes are so new they have yet to catch on, and others have been around since the 1920s. Now let's apply mode to a technical concept of amateur radio, modulation. In this case, the mode defines a specific type of carrier modulation. As amateur radio operators, we mainly need to focus on three types: AM, sideband, and FM. We won't go into why we would use one of these modes over the other in this video. For now, let's just concentrate on what the modes are. Let's start with AM. AM, or amplitude modulation, means exactly what it says. The amplitude of the carrier is changed, or modulated, by the controlling signal, usually our voice. As you can see in this graphic, the carrier's strength is increased and decreased by the instantaneous level of the audio. From your general license manual, you learned that the mixing of two signals results in 4 different signals. The original 2, a third new signal at a frequency of the addition of the 2 originals, and a fourth at a frequency of the subtraction of the 2 originals. So, if I were to modulate a 1 MHz carrier with a 1 kHz signal, the result of the carrier frequency would be the 1 MHz carrier itself, a new frequency at 1,001,000 Hz, and a third new frequency at 999,000 Hz. The modulating signal's frequency is too far removed to show in this graphic. This complete view is called the spectrum of the carrier. Lower frequencies to the left, higher frequencies to the right. Modulating a carrier with a human voice containing random frequencies from 300 to 3000 Hz will result in a frequency spread that looks something like this. A carrier in the center, and new frequencies from that point upward to 1,003,000 Hz, and an identical but opposite set of frequencies from the carrier downward to 997,000 Hz. Okay so far? The mode known as sideband is basically a modified form of AM. If we take the basic AM spectrum and filter out the carrier, leaving the signals above and below alone, we have created what is called double sideband suppressed carrier mode. Removing the carrier and all signals below it results in upper sideband suppressed carrier mode. Likewise, removing the carrier and all the signals above it result in lower sideband suppressed carrier mode. There are other possibilities like amateur television that only removes part of the lower frequencies, called vestigial sideband. The last common mode is FM, or frequency modulation. This is a very simple concept. In FM, the frequency of the carrier is shifted up and down in direct relationship to the modulating signal. As the signal voltage starts to go positive, the carrier shifts upward to a higher frequency. As the signal voltage goes negative, the carrier shifts downward to a lower frequency. How far the carrier frequency shifts is called the deviation. FM mostly comes in 2 flavors, wideband FM or WFM, and narrowband FM, or NFM. They are exactly the same. The only difference is the deviation in frequency of the carrier. Now you understand what we mean by modulating mode. Now look to the internet to see if you can find out why we would use one of these modes over the other.